When the rain stops, history decides who survives. The sky can stay empty for months. Wells sink lower. Reservoir shorelines creep inward. Modern agriculture often reacts with deeper drilling, larger pumps, and emergency restrictions. But history records another response. In high alpine regions where snowfall fluctuated and meltwater could not be trusted year to year, communities engineered moisture from landscape physics itself. Crops stood green in valleys, fed not by daily rain, but by controlled gravity flow, stone channels, and temperature-driven water release. The lesson is not mystical, and it is not exaggerated. It is geological literacy applied with patience. If you understand how receding glaciers create mineral runoff and how mountains manage thermal shock, you can apply scaled versions of those principles on your own land. Receding glaciers reveal the mechanics of runoff and mineral wealth. When glaciers retreat, they expose dark bedrock that absorbs solar heat rapidly. During the day, the rock warms. At night, temperatures plunge. This thermal cycling fractures the stone surface in a process known as freeze-thaw weathering. The glacier's grinding action produces fine mineral sediment, often called glacial flour. Meltwater carries this sediment downhill, enriching valleys with trace minerals that rejuvenate soil. The key principle is not the ice itself, but the sequence of heat absorption, rapid cooling, and controlled flow. Even in the absence of active glaciers, temperature differentials between sunlit and shaded surfaces can create microfractures and subtle moisture movement. Alpine farmers studied these effects carefully. They positioned channels along slopes where meltwater predictably formed, ensuring that even limited runoff travelled long distances without being lost to evaporation. For the modern landowner, the first actionable step is to study terrain and temperature patterns. Observe which rock faces heat intensely and which remain cool. Track early morning moisture accumulation during seasonal transitions. This is your map. Stone channels, transform even the smallest bit of moisture into reliable irrigation. Historic mountain irrigation systems, they relied on these narrow, precisely angled channels carved right into the slopes. These channels, often lined with stone slabs, kept a steady gradient, allowing gravity to move water efficiently. The main goal here wasn't about getting lots of water, but rather about preservation. Even small amounts of runoff, when you protect them from soaking into the soil or just evaporating away, can actually nourish a surprising amount of land. So, to use this method today, you'll want to find a gentle slope with a consistent contour. A gradient of about 2% is usually enough for a slow, controlled flow. You'd construct shallow channels using whatever local stone you've got, or maybe compacted earth reinforced with a bit of gravel. Just make sure the inside surface is smooth enough to keep water from pooling, but still rough enough to slow it down a bit. That balance helps to preserve water and let sediment settle out. Maintenance, that's really part of what makes the system work. Clearing away debris and repairing any little bits of erosion keeps the flow steady. After a while, you'll notice that dew, a bit of condensation, and even the occasional runoff all come together into a usable stream instead of vanishing into dry ground. Thermal cycling, believe it or not, can release mineral sediment without any heavy machinery at all. Glacial flour forms under massive pressure, but on a smaller scale, Minerals are released naturally through daily heating and cooling. Dark stones that sit in the full sun soak up heat, then contract quickly when the night turns cool. This constant expansion and contraction, well, it weakens the surface layer and makes fine sediment. If you've got land with exposed rock, you can speed up the mineral contribution by exposing more stone. Just remove any debris that's shading the dark surfaces so they soak up as much heat as possible. Then, during the cooler evenings, a light sprinkle of water can make the contraction even stronger, but without making the rock unstable. The fine particles that result will collect at the base, and you can gather them from time to time. Now, this sediment should be mixed carefully with compost or existing soil rather than applied heavily. Its value, you see, lies in trace minerals that stimulate microbial life and strengthen plant resilience. It's important to monitor soil composition to prevent imbalance, especially in clay-heavy environments. Condensation capture works when you respect temperature gradients. Even in drought, air retains some moisture. Condensation occurs when warm air meets cooler surfaces. Alpine builders, well, they exploited this principle through stone structures that encouraged moisture deposition. Thick walls, shaded channels, and elevated troughs cooled rapidly after sunset, drawing condensation during those temperature drops. You can replicate this by constructing a low stone wall aligned with prevailing night breezes. The wall should face open air on one side and, include a slight inward slope at its base, leading to a narrow trench. As warm air contacts the cooled stone, droplets form and travel downward. While each night's yield may seem minor, consistent capture over weeks accumulates meaningfully. Another approach integrates flat stone slabs over gravel beds. The slab cools after sunset, causing moisture to condense beneath it. Gravel retains the droplets, slowing evaporation and delivering gradual moisture to nearby root systems. These systems demand observation. Monitor yield over several weeks and adjust placement according to airflow and shade patterns. Soil revival depends on mineral integration and moisture retention together. Water alone cannot restore drought-stricken soil. The mineral component of glacial runoff historically rebuilt fertility in alpine valleys. When you combine sediment capture with condensation harvesting and gravity flow, you recreate a simplified version of that ecological cycle. Apply collected mineral sediment sparingly around crop bases and incorporate organic matter to prevent compaction. Pair this with mulch to minimize evaporation from newly delivered moisture. Hardy crops such as legumes and certain grains respond particularly well to trace mineral enrichment and steady low-volume irrigation. Track plant response carefully. Increased leaf vigor and root depth indicate improved soil structure and nutrient balance. Adjust sediment additions according to soil tests rather than assumptions. Drought resilience is engineered through observation and persistence. The survival of alpine agriculture did not depend on luck. It depended on studying slope, temperature, rock composition, and flow rate. These systems were maintained season after season with incremental refinement. The same mindset applies today. Begin small. Construct a test channel along a manageable slope. Install a condensation wall in one section of your land. Observe thermal patterns across a growing season. Record moisture levels and crop performance. Expand only after verifying results. The so-called impossible outcome of thriving crops during prolonged drought becomes understandable when moisture is captured deliberately and minerals are returned to depleted soil. If this deep exploration of glacial principles, gravity irrigation, and historic alpine engineering strengthened your understanding of drought survival farming, subscribe to the channel and share this episode with fellow history enthusiasts and self-reliance builders. Knowledge of the past remains one of the most reliable tools for securing the future.